to the home audience also. I'll now declare the meeting open and ask if there's any conflicts of interest amongst council members. Oh, thank you very much. Looking for the adoption of published agenda for Monday, December the 16th. Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Looking for the adoption of the minutes of Monday, December 7th or 2nd regular council meeting. Councillor Baker and Deputy Mayor Malash. Question, Councillor Baker. Councillor Baker and Deputy Mayor Malash. And Councillor Baker. Microphone. Mic, Bill. Microphone. Okay.
Okay. So thank you. Under Resolution 13-12-579, which is page 16 of the 179 report, that was the motion with regards to presentation from Scott Wadger and Jeff Sylvester. Under this next page, under item number 1 of that, of the conditions, there was a discussion with Chris Nepsey that they would review a storm management control plan, but there was a discussion that the catch basins were not going to be part of it. It still has the catch basins in here. So I'm wondering if that was just cut and paste issue, because the motion was that they would review a storm water management controls, but that catch basins were not going to be potentially the requirements. So if you see under the line there, it's on the next page, 17 showing our thing. So it says, new site being further amended to include stormwater management controls such as catch basins and gullies, gust gullies and traps. The discussion surrounded that was not going to be potentially the requirement, but it was to the satisfaction, of course, of the administration. So I'm just wondering if the minutes will capture that. Okay, so if you look on the report, it says in the report page 5 of 14, or if you look on our numbering system, 17 of 170. In that line, it starts number 1 and then goes down to the next page is what I'm referring to. Just before number 2, where it says new site plan further amend to include stormwater management controls such as catch basin in the town. It should be stormwater management controls all to the satisfaction of the town of Essex. Catch basins were the whole discussion that they were not, that was not being considered, but that it was to the satisfaction of the town. So if that could be amended to reflect that.
Through your worship, I had left the meeting, and the notes that I received, I was never instructed that there was anything different than what was recommended in the report.
Well, then that we can go back and capture the tapes, because that was the whole discussion was surrounded the fact, and I'm getting concurrence from the planner, Jeff Watson, that the discussion was that catch basins were not part of it, that they were part of the stormwater management control to the satisfaction of administration. And that was a whole discussion that was around that. Because they did the presentations, and so did their builder, Mr. Sylvester, and had a whole site plan management. And at the end of this conversation, Mr. Chris Nepsey agreed that we will look at the stormwater management controls to our satisfaction, but that catch basins would not necessarily be part of the plan. So I need that to reflect in the minutes.
Through your worship, I would suggest that I speak to Mr. Nepsey prior to making the revisions to the minutes.
Okay, thanks. And then you can get back to us on
Sure.
the result.
Yes,
and you can review the tapes because they're in there.
Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. B, Special Council meeting minutes, December the 2nd, 2013. Councillor Bowman moves, supported by Councillor Scott. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. C, Special Council meeting minutes from November 25th, 2013. Councillor Vokes moves, supported by Councillor Bowman. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries. D, special council meeting minutes, December 9th, 2013, moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Number 8, reports from administration, corporate services, report number corporate services 2013-44. Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Councillor Scott. Moving both recommendations, Councillor. Yes, sir. Any questions? Councillor Baker. Thank you. Sorry.
Just a quick question to Donna. So we're not budgeted for this in terms of the HVAC system for the town. Do we do any future plan? We had a discussion tonight about our future capital planning. Do we not have any reserves, or do we not plan to have anything in our budget that we look at these replacement costs for? I know we're going to deal with another one tonight, something that we should maybe look at, because these are ongoing issues that are be failing because they're at their end of their life. So are we going to be looking at this in the future and analyzing all of our different systems so that we can maybe capital plan for that?
Through you, Your Worship. Presently, we don't have any replacement reserves for HVAC units. What we could do, and they wouldn't be captured in the asset management going forward because they're not of that value. That's basically 100,000 and over. But what we could do is similar to what we do for roof. We started when new roofs were replaced that they would be start to provide for them through reserve transfers annually thereafter. If council wanted to make that sort of a resolution, we could certainly do that the same way as that we do for, so in other words, as these are replaced, going forward, we would provide annually for reserve transfer to replace them when they need to be replaced.
Yeah, thanks, because, I mean, it doesn't, obviously, when something like this happens, an occurrence, and it's an emergency, and we're dealing with another one, should this really need to come back to council, it needs to be fixed. Bottom line is, we should be looking at some future capital planning reserves so that when an occurrence like this does happen, it's a matter of notifying us that you're pulling from reserve because it has to be done. Because you need our approval to get a system done. I think it just means that it takes away from your operational ability.
Through you, Your Worship, because it's over 10,000 and it's a capital project, that's why it's coming forward. We could, as part of a policy on starting to set up reserves for new ones, have it worded such that if they do fail and they need to be replaced and we have reserves waiting for them, then we could go ahead. If we don't have reserves, then we would come back to council.
Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. E, corporate services, report number clerk 2013-09, municipal elections 2014. Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Deputy Mayor Melange with a question.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship, to Cheryl. Past election, there was not a lot of data afterwards telling us where the votes came from. So if we had a particular area that didn't come out strong, we wouldn't know. I'm just wondering if there's a way that we can pull that information into the vote.
Through Your Worship, unfortunately, when I was having training done for the voting tabulators, I was told this could be done. In the end, I found out it couldn't be. After the results could not be done by poll, if that's what you're talking about by poll. They are assuring us that the 2014 election, we will be able to get the results by poll because there was a lot of municipalities who stated as well that they would like to see those results.
Excellent, thank you.
Anything further to the motion? Councillor Baker.
Thank you, through Your Worship, to Cheryl again. We're recommending here that we have 2 advanced polls on independent days, one for McGregor Center and one for Harrow Center. And yet, on voting day, we're recommending that the poll be here in Essex Center. I know we've had this discussion before, but have we even entered the discussion that given Essex Center has the most concentration and convenience, that maybe they have an advanced poll here and that we have the polling on the day of in McGregor and Harrow and the smaller communities. I know we talked about it, that you saying there could be some cost and logistics, but from a voter convenience point of view, an issue, why would we not have those pollings there for those seniors who can't get out to this area? I think it's the advanced polling you're saying that's going to remedy that, but what's the reason we can't do it on election day? There may be a very good reason, I just don't know it.
First of all, we don't have the staff. We would need additional staff, additional equipment to go out to these polls. The results have to be ran through the tabulators. We can't, the cost of, sorry, we can't, I don't want to say that. The cost of having tabulators at other areas would significantly increase our election costs. That's why we had suggested we have these advanced polls for us to be there. Vote by mail is the way to get more people involved. And it's, people can do that from their home. They don't have to go out. We're trying to educate the public and get them to learn to use this new voting method. We will try and educate as much as possible. I don't know, we did quite a bit last year. We will attempt to do everything possible again this year, last election. In 2014, we will attempt to do everything possible to assist anybody. But I do not recommend having 3 polling stations on election day.
Okay, so then having said that, and maybe as a cost-saving measure, and I can see the point here, would you not maybe then have the advanced poll in Essex Center, then on election day, it's all just mail-in?
No, I would not recommend that. We need to have the staff in one central area in our office, and that's where I am suggesting that we have it, not anywhere else. We need to be all in a central location. I think it would just confuse everybody too much. Any other municipality who has vote by mail on election day, the only place you go if you have to is the municipal building.
Okay, thanks.
Acting CEO Donna Hunter.
Through your worship, I also want to mention that we have a backup generator at the municipal offices. Last year we ran into a hydro outage. We don't have that in any other location, and we wouldn't want to have that happen again.
Deputy Mayor Meloche.
Thank you, through your worship. Just something to note, and I just thought of it up when we were talking about trying to get it out to the community. We have our entranceway signs that have the panels on them. You may want to put in there, learn how to vote, call this number, or something to that effect, because a lot of people look at those entrance signs. I've had a lot of people ask me why we don't have messages in them all the time. So, thank you.
Good idea, sir. Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. C, Building Department Report Number CBN CBS 11-13, November 2013 Building Report. This is a 4 item. Deputy Mayor Meloche moves, supported by Councillor Baker. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. D, Corporate Services Report Number 2013-43, Schedule of Rates, Cemeteries. Moved by Councillor Scott, supported by Councillor Baker. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. E, Planning, Report Number 2013-45, changes to the R2.1 and R2.2 zoning districts of Bylaw 1037. Councillor Bowman moves and supported by Councillor Baker. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. F, Planning, Report Number 2013-46, Harrow High School Trail Project, with 3 recommendations. Councillor Scott moves. All 3. Councillor Baker, support with the question. Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Jeff. I think later on today you had somewhat of a suggested amendment to this plan. Maybe you could outline that as well?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, you have an email that probably went out about 4:45 today. It basically was to emphasize the fact that the concept plan that you have in front of you in the report is not the final plan. It's still subject to negotiation with the board. the board has endorsed the concept or the idea of having a trail system through its high school properties, which is a big step. And really, this is to get council to sort of show that it's committed to this project, so the board knows that this is a bona fide proposal. I also included another optional site plan which shows a connection to Pollard. One of the issues, and Councillor Baker raised this some time ago, was that the Harrowwood people don't have a lot of viable, safe routes for walking, for wheelchair access, and that sort of thing. And with the high school lands in their backyard, some provision should be made for that. The original plan envisioned it but didn't really show it. So this plan shows another option where you would connect to Pollard and you would connect to Kale. Kale would then be the designated public access road, and Harrow would have access by way of Pollard. Even though it's a private road, we shouldn't deny them the right to use something that's in their backyard. And one of the things we emphasized with the school board was that this is not just a safe route to school for kids. This is a safe route for other people as well. And that if we are undertaking this with our costs, entirely at our cost, and CWAT support, we should make sure this is a municipal serving function all the way around. So that's the emphasis we place before the board.
Thank you. So what's our next steps then in this, with discussions with the school board to implement it? Because the whole purpose again is twofold. It's to bring safe routes to our downtown area in Harrow through those residential areas, including the seniors areas as well. So what's our next step with them?
The next step is basically to formalize the plan, the actual layout, with the board, and then I have to draft an agreement, submit it to Mr. Marshall, our solicitor, for review, and that will basically set out the terms and responsibilities for both parties. That then would go in a report back to council.
And then last question then is, so this funding that is being recommended, approximately $15,000, is that 50% of the overall cost, or do we share 50% of that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's the $15,000 is the 50% match to the $15,000 contribution that is made under CWATS. The county, as part of the CWATS program, has a community or sort of municipal partnership program, and that's sort of the first 5 years to sort of stimulate linkages, within the trail system, that sort of thing, sort of fill in the gaps where the regional plan doesn't really go into the detail. And that's sort of a limited time only opportunity, so we grabbed it.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Malash?
Thank you, Your Worship. And so this would give us an opportunity to maybe at some future point to redirect some of the traffic from Dunn Road to down this trail, and then maybe further on to the Canada Chrysler Greenway.
Yeah, you'll be getting a PowerPoint presentation from me in January, which basically addresses that, looks into that situation, and talks about the strategic importance of Harrow and Colchester in the overall scheme of things.
Excellent, thank you. The one other question that I had was, I can't remember if I read it in the report or not, but whether the Trails Committee has already looked at this as well.
The Trails Committee doesn't seem to exist anymore. So basically, I spoke to the councillor in charge, and to seek that money. That there's $100,000 in that fund, and this seems to be a very appropriate use of that money. So, but I didn't approach the Trails Committee per se because I'm not sure that they're in existence anymore.
Okay, thank you. Which brings another point then. At some point in time, we must have a strategy with our trails. Would you mind in early 2014 to bring that back up to us? We're putting money towards trails. It'd just be nice if we're putting money there to know what the strategy is for these trails then.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I have lots of ideas for spending your money.
I'm sure you do.
I think the report, as they say, the PowerPoint presentation report for January 13th will sort of give you an idea of where I think you should go in 2014.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. G, Planning, Report Number 2013-44, appointment of 2 council representatives, Town of Essex Committee of Adjustments for 2014. I don't know what would be appropriate for 2 volunteers. possibly the same two if they so wish. Councillor Vokes and Councillor Baker also, so we need someone to move this. Councillor Bowman and Deputy Mayor Malash. The two representatives will be Councillor Vokes and Councillor Baker. Any questions? All in favor of that motion? Motion carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen. H, Corporate Services Report number 2013-46, re 2014 Policing Costs, Ontario Provincial Police. Motion received and supported by Councillor Bowman. Any questions? Councillor Vokes?
And even though the cost has been inherited, the cost for the OPP today is rather significant. Comparing, I guess, apples to apples and oranges to oranges, we're still in an advantage mode, I guess, as a result of having home municipal policing. Is that true? Saying that?
In my report, in the last paragraph under the background, I had talked about when we did the costing comparison between OPP and Essex Police Services. At the time, it was assumed in that analysis that the Essex Police Services would be roughly 5.8 million at the end of 2013, whereas the OPP would be 4.3 million. And actual fact, at the end of 2013, the OPP was below the 4.3 million. They're a little bit ahead of that going into 2014, but there's still a huge gap between where we would have been with the Essex Police Services to where we are now with the OPP. Roughly about 1.4 million less with the OPP.
Okay, thank you, Don.
Deputy Mayor Malash.
Thank you, through your worship. I understand that we're a little bit below, but if the increases had happened in wages in 2012 and 13 instead of happening in 2014, would we not have been higher? It looks like as if all of the wage increases, they were frozen in 2012, 2013. Is that correct?
Yes, they were. They were frozen for those 2 years. We probably would have been still ahead over those if they had actually, those increases had gone into effect in 2012 and 13. We'd probably still at the end of 2013 be higher, but probably not much higher than we are right now going into 2014.
Thank you.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, through your worship, to Donna again. So what we're seeing here is a roughly 15.58 or 8% increase in the wages for the service. Of that, the uniform is 10.8, in the staffing cost, the civilian costs are 56% increase, which is pretty significant. And I don't know, I'll ask you in a second where that is coming from. And the other thing is that, so we froze these wages were frozen for 2 years, but it looks like they're being caught up and made up right now. So really the freeze didn't really do anything. It just advanced it to a one-time hit right now. That's the other question I have. And the other question is, how did we make the estimation that if we kept the Essex Police Service that we would have been at 5.7 million now, as opposed to what we're at? I don't know how that, and it's probably justifiable. I don't know how that came up. So maybe you can answer those questions so the public will know as well.
Okay, I'm going to start with the first one if I can. In the terms of the civilians, you mentioned the increase is huge. One thing you'll note under civilians is a line heading, Office Automation, Telephone and Operational Support. That used to be included under other direct operating expenses, but what that actually represents is the support, the salaries that support the police service from office and telephone and so on. So it's just really taking it from other direct operating expenses and taking the salary portion out of that and putting it up in the salaries. So while it looks like that's a huge increase, it's just a reallocation of monies, really. Okay. The fact about the salary increase and the freeze, basically, the freeze, when they came out of the freeze in 2014, it was a catch-up. They said that they would compare the OPP salaries to the highest paid police force in Ontario and increase based on that. So, I mean, again, it's just, you're feeling the whole crunch in 1 year versus having it spread over the 3-year period. And then the final one, when you talk about how did we determine the 5.7, I did extensive analysis based on historical increases in OPP costing and Essex Police Service costing, and I applied that to the actual costs at the time that we did the comparison, which was based on 2007, and projected it out to the future based on historical, and it was a 5-year average increase in municipal policing versus OPP, and then that's how those numbers were generated.
Okay, thanks. So then now that we realize where we're going to be at, and we're at 4.1 million, let's say, as opposed to the 4.3 that we planned on being, so there's a little bit of less impact than we thought. But the majority of this, you're recommending the majority of this hit, $680-some thousand, we have to take from the reserve, which you were prudent enough to put away. What then happens now moving forward? What's our estimation in the new contract coming up in the next 3 years from that? What are our reserves going to be at? Because we're going to be depleted the reserves under this particular envelope. What's our strategy then because are we expecting another big hit in 3 years? And that's something we need to kind of realize now.
Through you, Worship, I can't foresee what the next few years are going to bring in terms of salary increase, because most of the increase is attributable to salary. Basically, going forward, there'll always be the salary increase, whatever they may be, because we're adjusted annually for that. In the past contract, our other direct operating were flatlined over the term of the contract based on the 2003 costing formula. Going forward in the new contract, that's going to be updated every year. So you're not going to get these huge hits at the end of the contract like you would have in the past.
Are we still going to look at, are we still going to recommend putting away some reserves in the event that something does change?
I would recommend that we try to put some in reserve. I'm not recommending by this report that we take out the entire increase from our reserve, because I think it's vital to leave something in there. We would have faced an increase in 2014 regardless. Salary wages, normal salary wages increase, and the increase in the costing formula. We would have had that anyways, and we could absorb some of that through the reserve, but I don't think we should absorb all of it through the reserve.
Sorry. So you're recommending that we take some from the reserves. What's the percentage? 50% of that?
I'm going to say probably between 50 and 75% of that.
And then the other amount, and what kind of impact does that have on a tax basis percentage?
Well, for every 1% increase in taxes, it's 110,000 that you're raising. So if you take, let's say 50%, and we take 300 of it out of reserve,
that's 3%.
Then it's a 3% increase.
Right up
roughly.
the top. Okay, thank you.
Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Aye. Community Service Report number 2013-22. Replacement heating, ventilation, and air conditioning unit at the Kinsman Fieldhouse. 2 recommendations. Councillor Vokes moves, supported by Councillor Scott. Councillor Vokes. Microphone.
Thank you. This report obviously talks to moving the cost forward 2014. I actually had the opportunity to talk to the tenant today. This morning it was like 15 degrees in there or something like that. It was horribly cold. And so, we are landlords, and without any real discussions about it, I think that we got to get them some heat in there. I know Doug has initiated some processes to allow for some heat to be in there, but I think the initiations that they put in place will sustain the place in 40-degree temperatures. But when we start getting down to 15 and 16 degrees, it's not a facility that can have those type of temperatures. So I encourage council to look at this report and working through Don and through the financial portion of the town, if you will, figure out a way to get this advanced and get it up and running for that particular tenant.
Mr. Sweet?
Through you, your worship. That is the intent of the report, is because it was already budgeted for in 2014, but to allow us to do the work and order the unit now, and it'll just be a set aside for 2014 in terms of budget dollars. So we've already started working, getting quotes, anticipating, hoping that council would approve that tonight.
Thank you, sir. Any further questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries.
If I could, so I understand that by accepting this report now, we accept the fact that we are going to move forward and purchase?
Yes.
Through you, your worship, the order will be in tomorrow.
Okay.
J, report number 2013-47, County of Essex official plan review update. Councilor Baker moves, supported by Deputy Mayor Malige. Councilor Baker.
Actually, I just, if I can, through your worship, to Planner Jeff Watson, maybe you can outline some of the controversial aspects of this that you have raised, because I want the public to hear some of the anomalies and differences that are out there with other municipalities and what we're faced here in the town of Essex by following the rules, I guess is the point. So, and what our plans are to move forward on this strategy. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Generally, the substance of the county official plan is not offensive to us in any way. It's basically our official plan anticipated what was likely going to happen in the county review, so we don't really have to do very much to correct it. But the big controversy, and you've read about it in the papers, is really farm lot severances, farm lot creation, and it's basically the policies are all over the board in the county. Leamington, for example, has a 27-acre minimum lot size. The other municipalities have anywhere between 50 and 100 acres as a minimum lot size. And of course, the difficulty with that, and especially with the Committee of Adjustment, is that when you're subdividing land, if you're dealing with 100-acre parcels as opposed to 50-acre parcels, your options are much more restricted. And of course, Leamington's position is that because they have a lot of specialty crop lands, they should be even much further down. The provincial standard for field crops is 100 acres. They're saying that no farm should be less than that. The other municipalities have, some of them have 100, some of them have 50, and as I say, Leamington has 27. And it's been a source of controversy amongst the steering committee as far as the new county policies are concerned. And of course, we're dealing with the Ministry of Agriculture, and we're dealing with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, who have much stricter standards. And the problem we have, of course, is that who has the most appropriate standard, who's right. And so the consensus was that we would basically maintain the status quo for the time being, but that we would undertake countywide a crop study, especially a specialty crop study, to assess what the actual farm lot sizes are, how viable are they, and what sort of countywide rules should we apply. So basically, the county official plan is going through with that caveat that section is under review, and it will make it a lot easier for our Committee of Adjustment and other Committee of Adjustments to try to sort out that what's an appropriate subdivision of land, farmland. And so I anticipate that'll be the ongoing review for next year.
So thanks. So then how long do you, so this, has it been agreed that this review will be undertaken now, or because it's about funding that review, correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, basically the county council is going to be approached, and we'll be working with OMAFRA on establishing standards. We have to find the expertise, and that's really been a problem all along. I had that problem for about the last 3 years. I could never find an expert who would tell me for sure, you know, what's a viable tomato crop farm lot, what's a viable apple tree farm lot size. It's very difficult to find these answers. So we have to work with OMAFRA, and we have to bring in the true experts, and we should be doing it on a countywide basis. So it'll be through county council.
Given our particular municipality, and specifically the farm sector, the 100-acre minimums that we're faced with, given the fact that we have a significant wine sector, they're going to be included in this as well in the specialty crop, the significant growth that we have.
Yes, well, when we drafted the zoning bylaw, the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw, there are separate numbers there for wineries with vineyards, for greenhouses. So we actually have a lesser requirement for them. But the problem we have is that they were sort of based on known facts. So we were able to justify, as I say, wineries and certain other crops for reduced farm lot size. But there are a number of other crops, as you say, like orchards and tomato crops and things like that. We have no standards for them. And so basically, we sort of addressed what we could, but there's still ways to go.
Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Correspondence, Jim Oakley, A. Colchester Village Committee members. Councilor Baker, oversee. Deputy Mayor Malash, supports. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. B. Tracy Gano, Colchester Village Fest Committee member, requesting to become a member of the Colchester Village Committee. Councilor Vokes, Councilor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. C. Ontario Good Roads Association 2014-15 Board of Directors. Deputy Mayor Malash.
Receipt?
Thank you, sir. Councilor Vokes, any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. D. Root Engineering Corporation, Hamlet of Gesto Drain. Councilor Baker. Okay. Supported by Councilor Vokes. Any questions?
Question?
Councilor Baker.
Yes, you're through. Question now is going to be of the remaining. This suggests that there's remaining people that are still on this, but there's, I believe, 5 of them. Cheryl, the remaining that are still on this particular, are they? Who has to pick up the cost that's been incurred so far?
Through your worship, the costs incurred to date will be borne by the individuals who signed the original petition.
Thank you. Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. E. Autism Ontario. Request to proclaim April 2nd, 2014 as World Autism Awareness Day and to participate in Autism Ontario's Raise the Flag. Councilor Vokes, Councilor Scott. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. F. Ministry of Citizenship and Immigration, Ontario Medal for Young Volunteers. Councilor Vokes, supported by Councilor Scott. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. City of Windsor, Windsor Essex County Environmental Committee meeting minutes, December the 5th, 2013. Councilor Vokes, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Committee meeting minutes, A, B, C, and D. They're all Colchester Village Fests. And there's 4 more, I guess. But anyway, Councilor Vokes moves, supported by Councilor Baker. Any questions? Councilor Scott. Right. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Anything further? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Bylaws. Bylaw number 1276, being a bylaw to enter into an agreement with Pauline Vandenberg, the assignor, and Robbie Ross Clee, the assignee, to lease certain premises in the town of Essex. Read it first, second, and third time. Councilor Vokes, Councilor Scott. Any questions? Councilor Baker.
Just a comment, and those premises are? I know they are, just so that people know. That's for the fitness center in the Harrow Arena.
Through
Ms.
your
Hunter.
worship, yes, that is the fitness center.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor? Motion carries. Bylaw number 1278, being a bylaw to enter an agreement with the Essex Sports Equipment for the management and operation of a skate sharpening pro shop at the Twin Pad Arena and Essex Center. Councilor Vokes. Councilor Bowman. Questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Bylaw number 1279, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 355, the comprehensive sign bylaw for the town of Essex. Right, first, second, and third time. Councilor Vokes moves, supported by Councilor Scott. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. D, bylaw number 1280, being a bylaw to stop up and close to vehicular traffic only that portion of Ogden Street between Sydenham Street and Bagot Street on Register Plan 18, part of PIN 75192-0228. Part 1, Register Plan 12R24962, Town of Essex, formerly the Township of Colchester South. Councilor Baker, supported by Councilor Scott. Councilor Scott.
Just through you, Mr. Mayor, just really quickly to address this. This road, I believe, was already closed off previously, but because of the fact there's going to be a pedestrian trail now, at the request of the residents and meeting with the town, this is a good idea for that section of road allowance. So I think this is more a formal thing, just that they have to reopen it, reclose it with an allowance for a trail. So nothing has changed. It's still going to be closed road.
Anyone I see, there's a gentleman here that I heard earlier in the day would like to make a comment on this thing. Would anyone like to invite Mr. Sodden to the microphone? I'll move that Belt be allowed to come and ask us his question or have a statement he has to make first. Okay, Councilor Vokes. Any questions? All in favor? That motion carries. Belt, come on up to the mic there and just get a red light. Yes, sir. Purple in there. Okay, now hit the purple one again, maybe. There you go.
Okay, thank you very much.
Now you only got a half an hour. I mean, couple minutes.
All right, this proposal came up a few years ago. I don't know exactly when it came up, but at that time I did write a letter to council, I think myself and my wife. And my idea was, I don't know anything about a trail. I don't know what your ideas are, but I think it's the last east-west street in the village. And at that time I said that we should finish it off. Instead of being rutted, it just looks derelict when you come into the village. If you came down that Ogden Street and you couldn't go any further, it looks like an alley. And at that time, 4 years ago, I said that it should be paved over and we should make it an east-west street. I still have that same consideration or idea that that's what should be really done with it. And the other thing regarding the progress of Colchester, talking as a future businessman, is that the houses that have been built in that 2 blocks of that subdivision on Sittingham have done very well. And addressing this to the planner, we can't build anything to the south because we have a lake there. We can build to the north. And I know
I hate to interrupt you, Belt, but we're just talking about Ogden Street here.
Right,
so.
correct. I don't know what your plans are for it, but I think it should be made a through street totally. But for future...
Maybe you couldn't hear Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott told us just 2 minutes ago what our plans were.
Okay.
What council has already decided to close it and also put a trail through there. So your idea might have been a good one in your mind, but the town has seen fit to shut Ogden Street completely.
Okay.
To motorized vehicles.
All right.
So,
I see that you're going to do it. In the future, is there some way that I can find out what you're planning to do before it's done?
well, but sir, I think you were aware all the time what was going on. That's why you sent the letter to us hoping we wouldn't do what we did, you know.
It just said that, I'm sorry, I don't want to argue, but it
Yeah.
just said that you were closing it off to vehicular traffic, not saying what it was intended for. Unless I misread it.
Okay, Mr. Baker wants to say something, so I'll allow him.
So thank you, through your worship. Just a couple comments, and I think Councillor Scott's kind of outlined the fact there was no action on this particular area for a long time, and the residents had moved forward asking that because of what was happening, is they were getting a lot of unauthorized vehicles that were coming down there, which was very unsafe, and those the four-wheeled all-terrain vehicles, they were snowmobiles, they were things that were using that as a uncontrolled access, and it was very dangerous for their children. So over a period of time, we were looking at how we could rectify that. So what had happened is the residents came forward and we looked at a plan to make that into close it up and make it into a passive trail. My question to you is, what would your concern be given the fact that you're on the other end of the area with your business by the water? I'm not sure what your interest would be for that particular piece of property, or that thoroughfare.
It would be for future expansion of the village. As I said, we can't go south, we could possibly go north.
Well, that is actually under the planning we just talked about earlier about the minimum 100-acre severance. We can't do that. It cannot be rezoned because it's agriculture in that particular area. So for those reasons, we already knew what we were doing, and that's the reason why it couldn't be opened up. And for the safety of those residents, we all made a plan to stop up and close, and now moving forward, they're going to put some kind of a passive trail for a walkway through there. So that was in benefit for the residents and benefit for future as well. So it was a safety measure as well.
Okay.
And with regards to it looking like an alley in your eyes, Bill, it's going to be cleaned up with this trail system.
That's one of my concerns.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome, sir. Thank you. Just need a motion or to vote on this. All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Bylaw number 1281, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings on December 16th regular meeting council for the corporation of the town of Essex. Councilor votes, supported by Councilor Baker. Questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Resolutions. A, dog pound operating agreement with Lakeshore, Essex, and town of LaSalle. Move Councilor Baker, supported by Councilor Bowman. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Just before we have adjournment, it's that time of the year. The first time we've been on television, I know County Council goes around and everyone gets a chance to say something to their constituents. So, seeing how this is the first time Town of Essex is this opportunity, we're going to do the same thing. So I would go right to Councilor Scott.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to my council colleagues and staff friends and our press that tough out this every couple of weeks. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and to the viewing public, to the town of Essex and all the residents, everyone watching this. I hope you have a Happy New Year and a blessed Christmas. Thank you.
Councilor Votes.
Thank you, Your Worship. Likewise, I'm just going to simply reflect what John says. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to the constituents, council, and to administration.
And we'll go over to Councilor Bowman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is a time of the year when it's important to family and friends, and we should keep in mind that traditionally it is a religious holiday. It sort of varies from that over time as we progress, but I wish each and every one of you the best of the holiday season and a very Merry Christmas, and hopefully everybody has a great time with their family and friends, both a safe and happy one.
Thank you, Councilor Baker.
Thank you. Yes, to all our residents of Essex, all our centers, all our businesses, my council colleagues and the administration, and our media that's here today, obviously, that, again, like John said, stuffed out. Merry Christmas to everybody, and that we have a continued success that we've been experiencing through our municipality, town of Essex, and that I wish the most prosperous new year and lots of luck, like I always wish.
Deputy Mayor Wash.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. Just wish to all the residents of Essex a very blessed and joyous holiday season, regardless of your beliefs. This is the time of the year to reflect on your blessings and contemplation of how to improve as we move forward. Thank you for all of the continued support from administration and from my fellow council members. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Thank you, sir. And in the absence of our CAO, Russ Phillips, filling in, Donna Hunter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To members of council and to staff of the town of Essex, on behalf of Russell Phillips, the Chief Administrative Officer, I'd like to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and please have a safe holiday season. Thank you.
Just before I give my little speech, I'm going to just correct 2 dates on the council agenda on the bottom. Monday, February the 3rd, and Monday, February the 17th. I think they reach out by 1 date, so if you remember it's the 3rd and the 17th, we'll have them right. As everyone else said, from the mayor's chair here, from myself, my extended family, to each and every one of these council members, God bless each and every one of you, our staff, who's the best in not only Essex County, but I think in Ontario. Just run into them each day, see what they do in our office, and believe me, we do have the best. And I think I tell them just about every day. If I don't, I'm sorry. The days I miss you, but God bless every one of you, and have a Triple H holiday, happy, holy, and healthy holiday to each and every one of our constituents out there. Thank you very much. God bless you. Adjournment. Councilor Votes and Councilor Baker and everyone else seconded, so it's always in order. Thank you very much. See you next year.